All right, so it is June 23rd, 2026. I'm up at Redfish Lake, so I'm in DC. And I have Raquel Johnson with me, and this is going to be fun. We are in the science of eating, no, the science of healthy eating and weight loss, part 2.7. We are getting in the middle of the book. We're getting quite a ways in. So, the ability to create optimal health and well being is based on progressive mastery of six macro habits of health. Although they are all important and all interdependent, the ability to eat an optimal level, because of its critical role in our physical and mental health, sets the cornerstone in creating a foundation for radiant well being. We live in a time when it seems difficult to discover what is best for us when the dietary guidelines appear to change constantly, influenced by fad diets, the latest book, or a celebrity success story. The daily messages of dieting, wisdom, controversial theories, conflicting opinions, and research have left the public paralyzed. In this part, we will present the science that supports the lifelong transformations in weight management that so many already experiencing using the habits of health. And then off the left, he talks about what's in this part, habits of health, healthy weight management, and recognize healthy weight management, not weight loss, because some people come in needing, healthy foods and to gain weight and to gain muscle. Some people come in who want to maintain the weight, but they want to build muscle. Some people come in because they need to lose 10 pounds. Some people come in because they need to lose 50 pounds. Some people come in because they need to lose 200 pounds. So it's healthy weight management. And then also the habits of healthy eating and hydration, because those are hand in hand, so very important. So, three core principles. You can rest assured that my eating system is based on irrefutable science and predictable components of success. It produces a comprehensive healthy eating system aligned. Oh, you're not going up today. Sorry. Aligned to the cutting edge of medical science. Plus, it is founded on three core principles that are essential for reaching and maintaining a healthy weight, with a practical and simple way to create health in this chaotic world. We have seen tens of thousands of people who have transformed their lives and their health over the last decade based on the science and techniques that I wrote over 10 years ago. In fact, many of my strategies are now being incorporated as the conventional guidelines, like my plate system and the NEAT system for daily movements, which we will discuss shortly, in order to help you with health and energy balance. Yeah, all of the stuff that he does, a forethinker. Everything he's done, he's had long before it became the fad, but these fads come and go. This is science that is forever. I mean, it started 40 years ago, and we've just been able to dig into the science more and more and more, and how impactful and important it is. It's true. So, and I love, yeah, we may be adding some of the science to it because we're digging in and finding more out about it, but it's what we've always stood on. Anyways, I can be really excited about that. This material is to expand your understanding of why this system was so successful over the last decade and why it will continue to be over the decades to come, especially compared to all of the fads and quick fixes that come and go and do not work long term. So again, this worked 40 years ago when MetaFast came out. Now, it wasn't sustainable because they didn't have the education. They had a little tiny booklet and they had to go see the doctor. And yeah, oftentimes they gained the weight back and they brought their diabetes back with a roaring vengeance. Dr. A came in and partnered with them, and now it's been almost 20 years ago. And with his education, people started being able to see that there was more to it. The people who didn't use it as just a diet. And we're getting ready to evolve again in July. And hopefully it will be at that point where people are seeing this really is a lifestyle. Again, I love to say, that 5 months where I lost 53 pounds, that was this compared to sorry, my dog's on my arm, the 10 and a half years since then. So there is a weight loss portion. There is a transition portion. And now there's the rest of my life, and if I'm 58 and I'm living to be 120, I got a lot of life to live, and I will be plugged into all of the tools. And now we're calling it the reset is the weight loss, refine is the transition, and we're moving into renew. We become new in our identity and who we are and how we do things forever. Okay, sidetrack there. We will focus on the 3 unchanging core principles that will make my healthy eating system foundational and effective for the rest of your life. So see, he's been talking about for the rest of your life ever since he partnered with these guys. He's about the lifestyle. We've made it a diet, and I think the coaches sometimes lean towards the diet piece. So hopefully we're going to shift to that. So fuel control. Mastering calories and insulin. Number 2, hunger control. Satiety, the science of fullness. The third one, waist control. Removing excess visceral adiposity, the dangerous fat. And the cool thing is now, since last fall when we started using the bioimpedance scale and can actually see the visceral fat, we're watching that happen. We're watching the fact that we are attacking visceral fat. So let's look at each of these core principles. I'm going to actually start on the sidebar here. Dr. A says 3 out of 4 people surveyed find that ever-changing dietary guidelines have made it harder to eat healthy, have said that it is easier to figure out their income taxes than to know how to eat right. So, core principle 1. Fuel control, mastering calories and insulin. The healthy eating system you're learning is built around the habits of health that give you the ability to control the quality and quantity of your energy intake. Most people aren't able to master this fundamental principle even after a lifetime of struggle. They're relying on their internal programming to select their food choices. But as we've discussed, that programming, which was optimal for a different time, when we needed to grab onto and hoard every calorie we consumed, is no longer helping us. Today, unlike 10,000 years ago, we have no system for disposing of all the excess energy. So if we consume more than we need to run our body, the extra calories get stored away as fat. That fat around your middle is a symptom of an imbalance between your energy in, calories, and energy out, the calories that we burn. With your intake set higher than it should be, the type of food you eat flips certain metabolic switches. We will help you gain mastery so food will serve your health, not hurt it. Here are the methods built into our system. Again, he's made it so simple for us. That's why this is built in. So the first one, portion control. Yeah, we have the tool of fuelings. So we have 2 important tools at our disposal to help us cut down the total amount of food we eat. The first, scientifically formulated portion-controlled meals, such as the ones we discussed in part 2.3, the catalyst to reaching a healthy weight. Healthy fuelings are backed with a wealth of scientific research that documents their effectiveness. There's no stimulants. All they are is balanced nutrition like a million years ago. Balanced nutrition put together and put in a package. They are They do have added vitamins. They do have added probiotic. They do have added vitamin D. You know, they are, they are, yeah, for processed food, yeah, they're processed, but almonds are processed too when they're put in the bag. I mean, really? So, anyways, there's one of my little side notes again. Let's see. For many people, particularly those with busy lifestyles who need instant access to healthy and nutritious fuel, this high quality fast food has become a permanent tool for weight management, um, not just weight loss. Hopefully, you've already added them to your eating system. Now, the second, my 9-inch plate system, is a simple visual technique that keeps you mindful of portion size and for all 4 categories in your user-friendly system: protein, grain, starchy carbohydrates, fruit, and vegetables. Together, they offer the ability to term, create long-term success because they allow a balanced eating system that provides a balanced amount of the right energy. The correct amount keeps excessive energy being deposited in the fat store cells and leaves available energy able to run and power hungry organs like the muscle, brain, kidneys, and keeps insulin levels under control. The right energy makes sure we are keeping the metabolic switches, specifically insulin and leptin, at a level to facilitate proper glucose and energy balance. Our system works both for weight loss and sustaining an optimal weight long term because we can simply dial up and down the portions to match whether we are in the weight loss or long term weight management regulation. So, see, beyond that 5 months, I was still managing my weight. That's all there is to it. And what were the 2 things right there, the 2 methods to make it super simple? Portion control and the 9-inch plate. Kevin made us get the 9-inch plate a lot of years ago, and it's so good. And I will tell you, when we make a meal, we put it on the plate, and the food never comes over to the table. There is never anything on the table except for that plate with food. If we make it, in the oven, in a pan, on the stove, it never moves from there to our place. And we make just enough that I literally have usually 2 extra meals, and they are portioned and set over on this. They're never picked up because they're perfect meals too, or if you're eating that plate of the different things, that's all that needs to be on the table. There needs to be no temptation. Why would we? And even if I put stuff in the freezer, I put it in containers. I weigh it. Put a little sticky on it that says, okay, this is 6 ounces of our pre-cooked chicken. I have 3 ounces because a lot of times, depending on the salad, I want to put 2 ounces of cheese. So I'll freeze 3 ounces of chicken in some bags. I'll do 6 ounces if it's going to go in a recipe. But it's power, we have to take the time. Portion controlled fuelings, portion controlled meals forever. We need to know what's going on in our body. Wow. Okay, another side note. Okay, number 2, 3-hour fuelings. So, eating every 3 hours fits right into our nature as hunters and gatherers. Paired with low glycemic eating, it turns off our insulin pump, keeps us at an even energy level, and helps us avoid wide swings in glucose or blood sugar and other key nutrients. It also decreases the body's workload, which has been shown to reduce dangerous oxygen radicals that lead to inflammation and disease. And of course, it reduces the chances that you'll overeat due to cravings. Did you hear that? Shown to reduce danger and oxygen radicals that lead to inflammation and disease. This morning on the Wind Zoom, the gal that was leading it, she was talking about the fact she had fibromyalgia. She's been in remission the whole since she went on program. That's the power that we have with this metabolic, we reverse metabolic dysfunction. So it's powerful. We as humans alternate between a fad and a fasting state. Let's look at where the fuel comes from when we go through the cycles of the fed and the fasting state. And Raquel, I love this section because this section, when somebody talks about, oh, but I believe in fasting, it's like, well, let's talk about what that looks like because truthfully, this is a fasting program. It's built in a healthy way, though. So I love to circle around and say, okay, let's look at this section that talks about fasting because truthfully, fasting is very healthy if it's done in a proper way. So post absorption, and I love Jared Smithson taught on this too, and he explained it. The fasting of this program, you know, after the blood sugar comes down, there's this, we fast for 2.5 hours between these small portions, which allows our pancreas to work properly, which allows everything to work properly, which allows our body to burn that stored fat during that fasting season, but it allows the whole body to just work properly as it's doing that post-absorptive state. So if you just want to know how to fast healthy, this is it. So 3 stages of energy availability. So there's a little, I'll read these little things on this graph here. The first little chunk is fed, fuel from your meal. So that's when it comes up. And then the next one is as soon as it gets up, your blood sugar gets up, your energy, you know, whatever you want to call it, gets up to that high point, it starts to come back down. And that's called after it comes down a little bit, it's called post absorptive. The fuel from the meal and the fat, depending on the need, is fasting. And then you hit the baseline, and then it's full on fasting, fuel from fat storage. So again, we bring the blood sugar up, the insulin level up by feeding it. And the pancreas puts in a little bit of insulin and it starts to come down and it kind of burns that fuel and maybe a little bit of the fat, but then pretty soon it gets down to where it needs to be, and then you've got 2.5 hours where you're fasting and your body literally is burning your stored fat when you're in a fat burning state like our program. So it's pretty cool. The science is incredible. So your body is in the fed state when it is digesting and absorbing food. Typically, the fed state starts when you begin eating and lasts for 3 to 5 hours as your body digests and absorbs the food you just ate. When you are in a fed state, it's very hard for your body to burn fat because your insulin levels are high. So that's why we do 100-calorie protein, carb, low glycemic fuelings. So we can get to that post-absorptive state sooner, so we can get to that fasting state sooner, so that our body can start burning our stored fat. Actually, he's probably going to say that too. After that time span, your body goes into what is known as the post-absorptive state, which is just a fancy way of saying that your body isn't processing a meal. The post-absorptive state lasts 6 to 8 hours after your last meal, which is when you enter the fasted state. It is much easier for your body to burn fat in the fasted state because your insulin levels are low. When you're in the fasted state, your body can burn fat that has been inaccessible during the fed state. So so there at the bottom is another little graphic that I'll read. So the blue is the fed fuel from food, insulin increases, and then it moves into the green post-absorptive state, which is fuel from food and fat. Insulin decreases, and then you get to that fasting state. Fuel from fat cells, insulin low. So remember, when we spike our blood sugar, we cannot burn stored fat. I don't remember how many times I heard Dr. A say that the last time I was with him when he was talking about metabolic health. You cannot burn fat when your blood sugar is high. Here's a sidebar. The current fad of fasting with long periods of not eating at all tries to do what our system does naturally, putting the body into fat burning state. Unfortunately, like most diets, it creates a non-sustainable restrictive period that violates the way we live our lives. The 3-hour system with portion control works so well because we don't overfeed. The fed state is then shorter because the energy load is much less than that of traditional meals. We also don't overstimulate insulin. So we have adequate insulin to ensure that energy enters the muscle, brain, and kidney, and doesn't stimulate fat storage. In the post-absorptive state, the body will start using fat to complement any energy needed by the body. At night, the body goes into a fasting phase that helps burn any extra fat. By keeping the 3-hour schedule, you will not be hungry. You will have a constant source of energy, and your blood fuel and sugar will not undergo wide fluctuations. The current fad of fasting with long periods of not eating at all tries to do what our system does, but getting the body into a fat burning state, but once again creates a non-sustainable restrictive period that violates the way we live our lives. So far, the research studies evaluating intermittent fasting have been relatively short and have enrolled only a limited number of participants. In one published in 2017, 100 overweight people were assigned to one of 3 eating plans, restricting daily calories intake by the same amount every day, similar to a traditional diet plan, fasting on alternative days, and continuing with normal eating habits. At the end of the 12-month study, both diet groups had lost weight compared to the normal eaters. However, the fasters didn't fare any better than the conventional calorie cutters. So, and ours definitely works on burning stored fat. Now, 3. This one's an interesting one. I send people to this one. Interesting. Fueling percentages. Your body runs on 3 different types of fuel or macronutrients: carbohydrates, fat, and protein. A 4th type of fuel, alcohol, contains a significant number of calories but has no nutritive value. Using these fuels in just the right proportion is a critical part of the weight loss and optimal health. Let's look at each group one by one. Actually, at the top, it has the macronutrients. So it has carbohydrates, 4 calories per gram, fats, 9 calories per gram. That's the highest, even though, a portion is like a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon. Protein is 4 calories per gram, and alcohol is 7 calories per gram, but not needed. Now, carbs are needed, fats are needed, proteins are needed for the body to work properly. The fats need to be limited because very small portion, they're calorie dense is what he calls it. So macronutrients, carbohydrates, fats, protein, and alcohol are the body's main fuel sources. The number of calories per gram differs, with fat containing the most calories, alcohol the second most, and carbohydrates and protein the least. And we're going to go ahead and cut off right there, and we'll get into breaking down those macro habits next week.